What's up, guys? How we doing? Again, another stream today. Can never have too many of these, but this regularly scheduled Tuesday night hangout. And I'll, as always, joined by the Ant-Man himself, Anthony DiBona. What's up?
Excited to be here. Unfortunately, I couldn't join your live stream earlier today. Would have been nice to kind of talk about the Jaylen Carter news as it happened, but obviously now we've got some more time to dive into that and much more. So I'm excited to talk to everybody.
Yes, nonstop Eagles news, moves, everything else really under the sun for the Eagles. But shout out to you guys in the chat. As always, I see all the support, all the love for the shirt. You know, I had to rep the bread, man, after the news that came down today. So feel free to go and get the shirt if you want to support Jalen. It's his shirt. So just, I mean, if you Google search Jalen Hurts the Breadman T-shirt, I'm sure that it'll pop up for people that are going to ask, where'd you get the shirt? But like Anthony said, I mean, lots of news. It's good news there. We'll probably start out with Jaylen Carter and everything on that side. Did want to mention giveaways galore. It's just nonstop as well, just like the Eagles moves. But we're going to be giving away Eagles tickets on this stream towards the end of the stream, so maybe in 45 minutes or so, something like that. But we will have 2 Eagles tickets to one individual who commented on the game recap video. So congrats, I guess, in advance, but we'll see who wins that one. Spin for those. Also, another interesting giveaway. I don't know if we share that necessarily, but for people just on the live stream. So not people that were commenting on the other video, but being present on the live stream. So for you guys there. And everything else. So shout out to one of the sponsors, one of the big sponsors, official season-long sponsor, Underdog. As you can see, scan the QR code, use code Philly Special. All you got to do is put into play $5. You get $50 in bonus bets. There's also a gimme pick that you can get along with that whenever you sign up for your first-time entry. I believe last week was Saquon Barkley, if I'm not mistaken. They probably won't offer that one again, but you could take lots of others that are your gimme picks and all automatic, which we'll share other details who automatic picks and plays might be here in a second. But on that note, for the Eagles, Jaylen Carter, you weren't able to hop on the stream. We texted a little bit about it, but your thoughts for people that have not gotten to hear from you specifically, the Jaylen Carter news and update that he will be playing on Sunday.
So yeah, I wrote about it a couple times. I tweeted about it a bunch. It's just, it kind of felt like the NFL was using this to kind of hang over the heads of Jaylen Carter and the Eagles because they couldn't ban the tush push in the offseason. They were kind of dragging this whole process as long as possible, where it got to the point where I was like, listen, it's Tuesday already. If he was going to be suspended, I feel like it would have happened by now, right? Because it just seems crazy to suspend somebody on a Tuesday, give a team such short notice before they play on Sunday. And especially considering that it happened on Thursday, right? There's been so much time in between, but then people were saying, oh, they didn't want it to overshadow any of the games or the Monday night game or the Sunday night game. They were waiting. So that kind of caused a panic a little bit where people were like, oh, will he actually be suspended? Will he not? But so officially he was suspended, but they're counting the week 1 as his kind of time served. And now he has to pay the fine, which looks like, I guess, not much because of what he's going to get paid, but going by his contract, that's like technically a week, like a paycheck. So, I mean, I think he'll be just fine moving forward. Hopefully this kind of, or like Vic Fangio talked about it earlier today with, he kind of wants him to lead with his actions, and actions speak louder than words. And he definitely didn't seem too happy about what Jaylen Carter did. So we'll see if the Eagles themselves kind of render any punishment for Jaylen Carter. Maybe he sits out a quarter or the first series, or maybe it's nothing at all, and they kind of just do something during the week in practice or whatever it is. But Nick Sirianni said that's going to kind of stay private. Obviously, if it's something during the game, if Jaylen Carter's not out there for that first series, then we'll all see it. But we'll kind of get to that point when we get there. But overall, kind of the best outcome given the situation for the Eagles, because you obviously want to have Jaylen Carter, your best defensive player, in the lineup in a Super Bowl rematch. So all in all, good outcome for the Eagles, but the NFL definitely kind of dragged it out to make things kind of worse for the Eagles in a sense.
Yeah, it was ridiculous because we were texting back and forth on this. And it did feel like Jaylen Carter was going to get an extra game because I was texting, I was asking you or saying to you, like, what the heck? This is just being drug on for forever. It's I was like, at some point, surely they have to issue some sort of a decision on this thing so we can move forward, whether he's going to be there or not. It's gotten a little bit frustrating that we'd reached that point, but thankfully, they don't go beyond the suspension. Like you say, it's technically a suspension because he didn't play the game. The fine in itself. But it literally feels like texting earlier today with another buddy, and it's like it feels like the NFL's just making it up on the fly. Like they're just like we don't know what they have to do, so we're just gonna go. Well, should we suspend? Should we not? Now, there's obviously that comes into play the idea of the tush push, and they're not happy about that. So, is there a way they could stick it to the Eagles? But push comes to shove, and no pun intended there. But with the instance of like what is going to be the precedent set now that they've done it, if someone were to spit on another player again, it's basically a 1-game suspension, and you'll be fined the game check, I suppose. And maybe that depends on when they get kicked out of the game. If that even happens, it would be crazy, I think, if we saw that at any point for the rest of the year. But I didn't really necessarily expect to see it on the opening night either, so you never know. But yeah, ultimately, like you say, good news. Jaylen Carter will be playing Sunday, even if he's held out for the opening series. The fact that Moro Ojomo and Jordan Davis don't have to play 50 snaps each, not that they couldn't because they did against Dallas, but the fact they don't have to is a huge, huge benefit for the Eagles.
Yeah, and I wrote about it as well after the game because everybody was like, oh my God, Adoree Jackson looks terrible. What are they going to do at cornerback? Even Quinyon Mitchell struggled. Like, this is 2023 all over again. What's going to happen? I don't think people realize the trickle-down effect of having Jaylen Carter in the lineup and not having him there, and the fact that they literally had no time to adjust to that, right? I mean, literally the opening series of the game, now all of a sudden your best player is gone. It's not like it happened a couple of days ago where he tweaked something in practice or he was suspended a couple of days before the game. Like, literally no time to adjust. So I think also the fact of like the difference in the defense too before and after the lightning delay was kind of notable to me because they looked significantly better. So maybe having an hour to kind of sit down and say, listen, well, obviously the rest helped Jordan Davis and Moro Ojomo as well. But like the fact that they're able to sit back, the coaches can get together, listen, we can do this. If he's not in there, we can do this. So that he's like, they were able to kind of adjust that way. But now the fact that he's going to be back, your best player, obviously the pass rush should be better. The run defense should be better along the interior of the defensive line. Now there's not as much pressure on the corners that maybe there's going to be some pass rush where the quarterback has to make a throw that he wouldn't, and they can get a pass breakup and they're not getting burned because the quarterback's standing back there for 4 to 5 seconds. So I think it'll be much better moving forward. And obviously Jaylen Carter being in the lineup is a huge addition.
Massive. It's a little bit of a difference. I was thinking about that as well as like if Adoree Jackson, let's say, for example, had been the one to spit on Dak Prescott, for one, people might have sadly been cheering that for not necessarily the right reasons. But you have him and move on to Jacorian Bennett. But it's a big difference in what you're talking about. They're planning for how the rest of the game plays out because you lose Adoree Jackson, fine, you just insert somebody else. Jaylen Carter is the guy that teams game plan around. Like they look at the defense of the Eagles, and the first guy at the very top of that list is Jaylen Carter. How do we address Jaylen Carter? Then beyond that, sure, you could go to Zach Bond, Jahad Campbell, Quinyon Mitchell, Cooper, whoever else. But it's Jaylen Carter first, and then everybody else. And even Dak Prescott, several of the other Dallas players said that afterwards in their press conferences. They're like, yes, when it changed, we absolutely had tactics in place to try to stop or limit Jaylen Carter. So yeah, it big time. It turns the game on its head, so to speak, and that's what we saw. So and even in that element, you had a little bit of pressures, some really close opportunities to get some sacks, not able to bring Dak Prescott down, which was very infuriating for not a single sack in the game. But they ultimately got the win. So I think all positives there. We're 1-0. I know people want to overreact or get caught up in extra things, but 1-0. Going to Kansas City, they got a lot of guys out. They got lots of injuries that they're dealing with, not in the best situation. So to have Jaylen Carter, everything else there, it's definitely hype, and he'll be extra motivated as if he wasn't already. So I'm looking forward to that. Real quickly too, I didn't need to mention this. I don't want to miss it, but Matt with a 20 bomb of Philly Special Show memberships, 20 that those go to. So congratulations to 20 of you guys. I'm seeing those. Those are randomized, of course, so Matt doesn't get to choose who they go out to, but it's randomized, and congrats to those. Also, Ross, member for 10 months, the Hungry Dogs tier. Punish JC in practice, not in a game, especially since it's the Chiefs. I would agree with that. feel like that's the best reason or the best way to go about it. He can certainly have all the punishment there. Maybe too important to do it in a game. This is not college here. I'm sure that's going to start something in the chat, but like I would just do it in practice, not in the game.
And I mean, the fact that Nick Sirianni also said that he's going to keep that private, I don't think he's going to want it to go into the game and where you could clearly see it, right? It seems like he's got a good handle on that locker room and the guys respect him and the leaders are kind of well established. So I don't see that being a thing that they would do. I know some people want it because they're so upset with what Jaylen Carter did, and I understand it. Like, what he did was 100% wrong. I'm not defending what he did at all.
Sure.
But I could also see the fact, I could see kind of Nick Sirianni just having him stand up in a team meeting and just apologize to everybody and kind of take accountability that way, which he probably did already. But I could see Nick Sirianni kind of making an example, I guess you could say, out of Jaylen Carter in a way and kind of almost embarrassing him in front of everybody else, but not in front of the whole world where everybody sees that he was forced to sit the first series or the first quarter. So I think it'll be handled internally, and Nick Sirianni kind of alluded to that as well.
Yes, that he did. I would agree with that. IBH with a 2. Josh, any update on Kansas City wide receiver injuries? So mainly Xavier Worthy. I'm sure that's where we're going with that. Rashee Rice is not going to play. The 6-game suspension that he's serving. I have seen from, I guess, correct me if I'm wrong, have you seen any official news on Xavier Worthy?
The last I saw is that like they're saying he's questionable. Like they're kind of keeping it a little bit mysterious. Yeah. They're not like ruling him out or placing him on IR. So that could be more of like a strategic move. But based on how he looked after that play and after that hit from Travis Kelce and the friendly fire and how he looked on the sideline holding, like it didn't look like he was a guy that was ready to play. And given his stature, he's not the biggest guy in the world. But once again, these are the best athletes in the NFL. So if he got some type of shot or something before the game to kind of tough it out and just be a threat out there that the Eagles have to worry about, I wouldn't be surprised, but I'm not sure like if he does play, how effective he actually will be.
Yeah, never say never. I will say shout out to Cole DeRuse. How about those Chiefs on YouTube? So if you do want a Chiefs news insider as far as YouTube, go check out Cole's channel. He was basically saying that he's out, but again, I don't even think that was like a full-blown Chiefs release the report. It's just putting 2 and 2 together. I mean, for instance, and I can share this as well, Jesse Morse, among many other doctors, but Jesse Morse also has some good YouTube content and everything else, but a doctor who breaks down different injuries, everything else. And so he was saying after the dislocated shoulder was confirmed, his diagnosis is minimum of 3 games missed. If it's mild, moderate is 4 to 6 games missed, and then severe would be season ending and likely require surgery, kind of even almost regardless of how that is. But still, it's speculation, so we don't necessarily go in and be like he is 100% sure. However, the injury reports should come out tomorrow, and you would imagine that we get a very good inclination of where he's at, assuming if it's like a DNP, he won't probably have a designation yet because it's just Wednesday. But if it's a DNP, you kind of go along with that. Other insider reports will probably start to come out and then have a good idea. But at this time, I mean, I don't know percentage-wise because it doesn't seem to work out well for us when we put percentages on things. But I would say that it's like a 95% chance that Xavier Worthy does not play. Again, I'm sure that I'm going to jinx that, and people can come back to this clip and go, well, dadgummit, like you just jinxed it now, and we got to deal with Xavier Worthy on Sunday. But if he doesn't play, I mean, even if he did play, but if he doesn't play, like the best wide receiver options out there, like the top guys for the Chiefs are Juju Smith-Schuster and Hollywood Brown. Like it's a drastic, decrease from Rashee Rice and Xavier Worthy, which is what it felt like it would be a month ago, right before the Rashee Rice suspension was announced for his 6 games on that side. So it's a very big difference.
And a drastic drop-off from CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens last week. Right?
Yes,
I mean,
yes.
You go from one of the best.
Adoree Jackson has got to be thrilled, by the way. Not to cut you off, but thrilled.
100%. And I think that's part of the reason why Vic Fangio is kind of saying that he's going to give Adoree Jackson another chance to start because, one, I said it a million times, but I don't think I said it on the channel. I don't think the corners were necessarily put in position to succeed against the Cowboys with how everything went. I mean, granted, the fact that Jaylen Carter went out, the pass rush was significantly worse than it probably would have been if he was healthy. So now there's more pressure on the corners, more time for Dak Prescott. Like that all trickles down, like I already mentioned. But even Quinyon Mitchell, if it wasn't for a couple of drops, he probably would have even up 100+ yards as well. So I know Adoree Jackson's kind of the easy target. but it's not like Quinyon Mitchell played all that well either. So the fact that now they're going against the Chiefs, granted it's still Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce, whatever he can do, but that's a drastic drop off at wide receiver. If Xavier Worthy can't play, obviously Rashee Rice is out. So we'll see what the Eagles are able to do. Being on the road might be a little bit more of a challenge. They're not at home. They don't have the crowd. But, I mean, obviously in the Super Bowl, they destroyed that team. So we'll see if they'll be able to kind of repeat their success. But if Xavier Worthy's not there, and I mean, like I said, given his size or lack of size and that injury with the kind of speculation that you talked about, it does seem like a multi-week injury. But if it's not bad enough to put him on IR, Andy Reid is definitely going to play the game where, oh, he was limited one day, or he's like, he might sit out all week and then be limited for the last day just to kind of keep the Eagles guessing. But we'll see what happens.
Yeah, it's even like I say, even if he does play, but if he doesn't, then it's a lesser team that took place in the Super Bowl. So whether or not, we'd say, well, was that team better or is this team better? It's very early in the season, so we're not rushed to judgment. Of course, that's happening everywhere if you're looking or watching videos or shows or just anything, which is what I guess at the same time what we love about the NFL is what we love about football. It's some of the overreactions. It's some of like coming from week one and going, my gosh, well, I guess the Bills, Ravens, and Packers are kind of the top three, and everybody else is maybe not. But well, then you go to like the Saints last year, were world beaters.
I was just about to bring up the Saints from last year, where it was like, oh my God, Clint Kubiak is the next Sean McVay. They're averaging 40 points a game. This team is unstoppable.
He was going to be the head coach of the Giants, or just name your pick of any team. Yes,
let's slow down a little bit.
Just a tad. Let's see. I missed the super chat. Oh, Jersey-born Philly fan. Appreciate that one with a 5. Has Zadarius chosen a number yet? I think that a couple people in the chat have already responded to this one, but just in case not, we can officially make it official. Shout out to NFL Jersey Numbers for keeping people updated. Also, Anthony. I mean, you honestly just follow Anthony at DiBona NFL, and he will tell you what number they picked, which ones they could have chosen, which ones they should have chosen, and everything else there. But yes, 52 is officially Zadarius Smith's number. I guess I got to ask you, like, how do you feel about that? Because twofold, it's 52. So as the president of the Look Good, Play Good Association there, how do you feel? And also that was last assigned to Antoine Powell-Ryland, who was your guy. So kind of twofold.
Yeah, I mean, it hurts a little bit to see him because I don't know, it feels like that kind of means that they're going to move on from him for sure. But Zadarius Smith kind of reported it that was going to be his number because it was on his birthday cake and he had an Instagram post. But the Eagles updated their roster and their site today where it lists that there. So I thought he might have went with 50 because I believe 50 was also available. But I mean, because he's always worn a number in the 50s or in the 90s. So 52, I guess that's what it is. I think Zadarius Smith is a big enough dude where either a number in the 50s or the 90s would look past the test for the Look Good, Play Good Association, and he's kind of established himself. So I'm not too worried about his jersey number choice. If he would have went in something in the 40s, then I don't know. We would have been in trouble. But 52, I think, is a perfectly fine look.
Yeah, we can't live with that. If he's going somewhere in that category, it's a bit far fetched whenever we have that for a cornerback to begin with. But yeah, if we're going edge related, that's not really a good look. No, we cannot do that. Let's see. I'm trying to make sure I didn't miss one other comment here. I think I had them all. If not, I got Ross's. Was there one more? Oh, wait. There's another one that just came in from Niche. Remember, for 18 months, Hungry Dogs tier. By the way, remember if you're a Hungry Dogs tier, access to the monthly Zoom calls last Friday of the month. I've not seen you. I don't think I have anyway. But you got that, which is access to the Zoom calls. You just check out the community page and get the link there. But it says Howie at the corner market. Who does he come out with? That's assuming he's in the corner market to begin with.
I mean, I don't know if they're going to make another move anytime soon. I feel like they're still waiting for Ja'Cory Bennett to kind of play catch up. And he played last week in one drive or whatever it was when Adoree Jackson was being evaluated for the concussion. But then it seemed like he was cleared to play, but then they still kind of held him out to let Ja'Cory Bennett kind of finish the drive. But I believe he gave up 3 receptions on 3 targets, also had like a pass interference penalty. So I don't know if there's like a drastic upgrade on the roster right now from Adoree Jackson. I mean, Ja'Cory Bennett's younger, obviously more intriguing, more upside at this point. But I think that's more of like a trade deadline thing where I think Vic Fangio wants to see what these guys can do moving forward. And And then at that point in October, whenever the trade deadline rolls around, then maybe another team might be willing to part with a corner because maybe their season kind of spiraled out of control. I know everybody saw the Denzel Ward contract restructuring, or if you haven't, everybody's like, oh, does that mean he's getting traded? Like, what does that mean? Of course, people run to conclusions right away, and you see the Howie Roseman replies with the glasses on
Oh
looking or
yes.
whatever it
Oh
is. But
yes. Mm-hmm.
which I understand. I mean, then somebody brought up a clip of Nick Sirianni a year or two ago praising Denzel Ward in the press conference where he's like, oh, he's a great player. If I told my son he could only wear superstar players and I would allow him to wear a Denzel Ward jersey. So, I mean, it seems like the Eagles like him, but it's just a matter of the Browns being bad enough and willing to part with him. So maybe later on down the line, maybe next month they revisit that. But right now, I think they want to see what they have moving forward.
Yeah, it does feel like it'd be too quick of a decision to be made, right? Like you're saying it, and maybe Adoree Jackson plays much better in Kansas City. I am of the mindset of continuing to say Ja'Cory Bennett. I'll be thrilled if Adoree Jackson goes out there and plays well enough, and we're like, hey, you know what? I'll gladly say I was wrong if he turns a corner and we're good. He plays better, as you said, and you've mentioned it in different articles as well. It's and this I guess goes into the line with what I was saying about overreactions too. It's like we see 1 week and want to go like, oh, that's not the answer at all, and it seems like an uphill battle. I think that it's not an overreaction to say that it was worse than a C grade, even though he would grade himself with a C performance from what I don't know, like 5 catches, 103 yards, a touchdown, a pass interference. Like, take whatever you want from Adoree Jackson on that night. Yet somehow it's a passing grade. That's maybe off, but there's a chance. I'm still just believing more so of Ja'Cory Bennett. If anything, like give him, like let's say Adoree struggles. Okay, eventually after a game or two further, they move on. That you still don't know what Ja'Cory Bennett can officially do until they get him out there in some game situations. And he sure, he's made some mistakes. He's had some other areas. He's got a little bit of a learning curve. But you've also seen elements in his tape and the film going up against other receivers. It's like he might have something there if he gets more of a legit shot. So, yeah, I'm with you. Before they go out there and trade, especially a big trade like a Denzel Ward or anything like that, it's the easy thing to do. Just take it and run with it. I understand if we're talking about what's the major weakness or the glaring one that we're talking about. Yes, it is absolutely corner. We're all waiting for, Howie Roseman traded for a running back. Howie Roseman is signing a pass rusher. He's doing all these other things, but it's not corner. What are we doing? And I think that that's the one that he's potentially not done yet. But you still got to be a little bit prudent with, okay, you traded something. Even if it wasn't a lot, you traded something to figure out and maybe help solidify with Ja'Cory Bennett. So before we just totally punt on that, maybe let's see. And there's also, I guess, other people mentioned this as well. Mike Hilton, he worked out with the Eagles, former Bengals cornerback. He would be the nickel though, and then you have a whole other scenario with Cooper DeJean in favor of a chance there.
So I think, like, from the outside looking in, I think their plan is they want to see maybe Adoree Jackson start for like 2 to 3 games, right? See what he has. If he does show improvement, then he'll probably be the guy until he just falls off a cliff. Then at that point, they would bring in Ja'Cory Bennett and start him for, say, 2 to 3 games, kind of the similar window, see what he can offer once he's kind of caught up with the schemes and everything like that. Then if that doesn't work, that's when they might kind of break glass and sign Mike Hilton and move Cooper DeJean full-time outside, because Mike Hilton is strictly a slot cornerback. He's not going to play outside. He's never really played outside much in his career. He's played a large majority. It's like over 90% of his snaps, I believe, were in the slot. So he's going to be a veteran. He's probably not going to want to come in and sit on the bench or be the 6th defensive back in the dime package. Like, he's probably looking for a significant role on a contender. So maybe a couple weeks from now, once Adoree Jackson and Ja'Cory Bennett both get a chance, they can kind of pivot to that. And maybe that's why they brought Mike Hilton in for a workout to see where he is physically, because he was released by the Dolphins, which is kind of a red flag, right? Because it's not like you look at Miami secondary and you're like, whoa, they're loaded. They have tons of talent. So if you're being released by the Dolphins, not the best look.
Indiana Jones just torched him. So yeah, we're not
exactly. So
we're not really calling them anything. So
I wouldn't necessarily say that Mike Hilton would be like the end all be all, like the definite solution to the situation. It just kind of seems like that would be almost like their last resort, just because everything Vic Fangio says and does is that he wants to keep Cooper DeJean in the slot. He feels like that's where he's at his best, where that's like he's the most pivotal piece for the defense. He can do the most from that spot. So it seems like he wants to avoid moving him outside full time at all cost. So I think they're going to exhaust all of their options that are on the roster now, like I said, with Adoree Jackson and Jacorian Bennett. If those don't work out, then we might see a Mike Hilton signing or a big trade at the deadline.
He's not done. We just remind ourselves of that. Howie Roseman is not done. It's just a matter of time potential. It could be just some small things, but I think he's proven enough, and the fact that he's got all the draft capital. He said this at the last press conference that he did. I can't remember how long ago, but he was asked, about where he's at, and he's like, "No, we're not done. Like if we see a move that needs to get done, and there's a player that needs to be gotten, we're going to do that. There's plenty of draft picks." There, and he also said, he's like, we're comfortable, we're fine going into it next year with those, but we don't have to. They're ones that we can use. And look, he's like everyone. He's like all of us. He sees what we see. There's a potential dynasty in the making, and if there's one hole or there's one spot of that, like, man, you know what? If we have to forfeit a third round pick next year because we need to get a stopgap, we need to get someone who can come in here and do a much better job, or even maybe a second round pick, right? Like, I don't think that he's even viewing that and go like, oh, I don't, maybe we should. No, there's no hem-haw over it. It's literally do it now, because if all of a sudden, much like Kellen Moore, when we said this, they were like, hey, look, the blessing and the curse of Kellen Moore. If we have to lose Kellen Moore, but you win a Super Bowl, you gladly take that. If you have to lose a second-round pick, but you win a Super Bowl, we gladly take it. We'll figure out the next year after that, and the cap is just a myth, so we don't really worry too much about the financial ramifications. But, yeah, we pump the brakes maybe just a tiny bit, though. It's not, nothing's locked in, nothing's official, anything like that. Ross with the 5, though, we appreciate it. How do you guys feel about moving Coop outside if it's easier for a trade for nickel versus outside, assuming the in-house options don't work? And Anthony, you kind of, I guess, mentioned that a little bit earlier with Coop, the ideal situation. But I don't know. I mean, market-wise, because it's all total speculation, I guess, but does it feel like there would be a better likelihood to trade for a nickel and move him in that direction, or just go with I think outside because all the reasons that you mentioned, but I'm just curious to verify. They're easier to trade for an outside, or do you do nickel and move Coop to the outside?
Yeah, it would be interesting because Greg Newsome was a guy that's also on the Browns. I know Denzel Ward kind of gets all the attention, but Greg Newsome was a guy that I wrote about in the offseason as a potential trade target because he does have that inside-outside experience where he can kind of play both roles. So I would almost think of him as a more intriguing target for the Eagles in that regard, because then you could kind of put Cooper DeJean outside or inside, like have them rotate. Like they could literally, if you traded for Greg Newsome, everybody could shadow. Like they could follow guys into the slot, be comfortable. Like they would be fine there. But that, like I said, that I don't think Cleveland's lining up to trade him right away, right? I think that's something that they would want to do later on down the line around the trade deadline or whatever the case might be. So I feel like Nichols is becoming kind of almost like a premium position around the NFL. You're seeing teams kind of lock these guys up early in their contracts and keep them around. So once again, especially heading into week 2, nobody's lining up to trade a really good nickel cornerback or an outside cornerback. So right now it feels like everybody's kind of in wait and see mode, evaluating their roster, seeing how good they are by the time the trade deadline rolls around. So would it be easier to kind of put Cooper DeJean outside and just put a Mac McWilliams in the slot and not have to trade for anybody? That would be perfect. But once again, based on what Vic Fangio says, he's very honest. It doesn't seem like Mac McWilliams is ready to play yet or contribute in that role just yet. So that's why I think they brought in Mike Hilton, because if they do have to get to that point, Mike Hilton could be the guy and then Mac McWilliams could back him up. So it seems like Vic Fangio wants to avoid, like I said, putting Cooper DeJean on the outside at all costs. So until he does have to do that outside of base defense, then I feel like that's when they'll address it.
Okay. Keep an eye out. Greg Newsome, he says. I do just want to point out, I can actually share the screen here, but it might take a little bit too much time. I do want to point out to the fact that this was a long time ago. I think this was 2 years ago, if I'm not mistaken, but it was something like that we did a recording, and Anthony brought up John Mechie's name, and he made it on the thumbnail, and we're like, it's only a matter of time. Now, it took a while, but we're saying, hey, keep an eye out because he's on the radar, right? And now he's with the Eagles. And same thing for Zadarius Smith, which was a lot more recent. That was this past offseason. And I opened up the question. I said, hey, if there's someone out there that's more reasonable price-wise, because it doesn't appear that the Eagles are going to, get a blockbuster trade, even though there's a report that came out that the Eagles offered 2 firsts, a third, a fifth, I think, among other things, whatever Jay Glazer said for Micah Parsons. The Cowboys were never going to take that, so that's not surprising. But still, I'm like, hey, who should it be? And you mentioned Zadarius Smith. So lo and behold, 3 months later, he is a Philadelphia Eagle. So now he's saying Greg Newsome. I'm just putting that out there. People keep an eye. If it happens again, I think we already have speculation that you have Howie's number, but it'll be.
I don't. I can promise
official.
you I don't.
Well, you can deny that all you want to, but people are not buying it between the insider information and everything else that we're putting together. Brent with the 10 Philly Special Show memberships. We already got 20 from Matt, 10 more from Brent. Congratulations to everybody else getting those. Access to the member-only giveaways. And reminder, too, we'll be doing the giveaway here in a little bit for the tickets and spinning in a second on the game recap video. A couple other super chats. Let me run into those before jump into one of the other topics we're going to get into. Sema with a 5. I seen Adoree stop and do a full 360 mid-play on a stop route from Pickens. Get him on the first thing smoking out of Philly.
Yeah, there was definitely some low lights for Adoree Jackson in that game. I mean, obviously the play where the run went to his side and he kind of just, I mean, Jahad Campbell too, they both got lost on that play where they were just spun around. It was just not great. Great night for the Eagles run defense, especially when things got to the outside. So you definitely want to see that kind of patch that moving forward. Obviously, Jaylen Carter will help a ton in that regard. But yeah, I don't think anybody really had a standout performance outside of maybe the linebackers and then maybe Jordan Davis. But outside of that, really wasn't too much to be really excited about in week 1 on the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah, a little bit of rust, a little bit of just not showing up ready to play. Jaylen Carter effect, like we mentioned earlier. I think if you were to start, actually, I don't even think this is like a 100% for sure. If you started a GoFundMe for like just paying to get Adoree Jackson, the sad part is you would have a lot of donations from people like Simo's comment here, get him out of the first thing, smoking out of Philly. Like, you know, poor guy, because he has done it to himself with a performance. That is true. But man, he has got an uphill battle. And then especially, I forget who posted the tweet initially, and then it went like wildfire over social media. But Isaiah Rodgers, you see him last night in the Vikings and Bears game, 4 targets, 2 catches allowed for 13 yards. Just, man, it's kind of tough.
I mean,
it's
that's
not
something that we
Lamb
said.
And George Pickens, but it's still tough.
But that's something we said right when he left, right? Once we saw the contract numbers come out, we were like, why didn't they match that? Like, that seems like a no-brainer. Granted, they might have just told Isaiah Rodgers, like, listen, we want to see what Kelee Ringo can do. You're not guaranteed a starting job. Like, and maybe Minnesota said the opposite, where they said, like, listen, we'll give you this much and you're going to start. So it could have just come down to that. And I can't blame him for going and getting a starting role where he didn't have to necessarily compete for the job. And he felt like he probably earned the job in Philadelphia if they were moving on from Darius Slay. And he didn't want to compete with Kelee Ringo, but obviously the Eagles went in a different direction. So it's easier to say in hindsight, but I feel like we also said it at the time too, that it's like signing Isaiah Rodgers seemed like a no-brainer, especially for 2 years, $12 million with $7 million guaranteed or whatever it was. It kind of just felt like an easy contract because in my eyes, you could still have him compete with Kelee Ringo, right? It's just that now your floor is significantly higher if Kelee Ringo doesn't work out because you know exactly what Isaiah Rodgers can do in this defensive scheme where he played almost 500 snaps last year, even though he was a backup because Darius Slay was in and out of the lineup. Like he needed to play. So he proved himself and people were like, oh, he's still not a full-time starter. I mean, he looked like it whenever he was thrust into action last year and didn't really have time to prepare or like he wasn't really named the starter. Like I don't think ever. So the fact that he was able to kind of stay ready on the bench, I feel like he would only be better given a full week of preparation as a full-time starter. So I still think that's a mistake, but given how good Howie Roseman has been in recent years, it feels like almost kind of like being a little bit like too nitpicky, kind of complaining about that. But I think overall it could come back to bite them.
Yeah, and it's on the flip side of that, it's a very valid point. The hit rate is phenomenal. It's ridiculous for the players that he's hit on. But like we say, the other element is he's not perfect. Nobody's perfect. He makes mistakes, and that does feel like it's one of those. I think it goes back to the same thing that we've said. I don't know if it's denial. I don't know if it's just the trying to have the confidence or help Kelee Ringo have the confidence where it's like, no, we're not going to keep someone else internally here to compete for the job. We will bring in others, but it's more so like, this is yours. This is yours to take it and run with it. But we're going to have some other potentials. And then all of a sudden it turns into, as they go throughout camp and preseason, like, ooh, okay. not doing a great job here. This is not necessarily winning the position, and then have to make a trade for Ja'Cory Bennett because the stopgap. Isaiah Rodgers is obviously not on the table anymore, and so now you're scrambling. Still not giving up on Ja'Cory Bennett, but we're in agreement. Lots of people are in agreement for Isaiah Rodgers and at least the lack there that you could have had, because we would be feeling a whole lot better. Josh H with a 5, wasn't Vic Fangio released by the Dolphins because he was too strict for them? They didn't see eye to eye, so that's true. I don't think if that comment, I'm not sure, because again, I'm getting to these in order, so apologies if it's a little bit late. I don't know if that's in reference to Mike Hilton and the comment that he came from his Dolphins. I assume that it is. I mean, a little bit different story when a player is released from the Dolphins versus Vic Fangio. I don't think they look at it and go like, "Oh, Mike Hilton's too tough for us." Like, he's good at run defender. Hey, give him credit for that. Yeah. But I don't think that's the reason that they're releasing a player. Now, coach, if he is at odds with players, maybe so. Miami didn't look good, but that's a whole other story. We're not a Miami podcast. Leaked an arrow with a 2. Rasul Douglas reunion. Anyone? I can see Howie calling.
Yeah, I thought didn't he sign with somebody, or maybe I'm crazy. I thought he signed.
I was gonna say he had been on. Is he not?
Guess who he signed with? The Miami Dolphins.
Did he? Okay, so
yes. So that great defense couldn't stop Daniel Jones. Rasul Douglas is one of their corners.
I knew the cornerbacks weren't great. I just didn't know who it was.
I mean, I actually did like him, like as a potential kind of low end target in that same Adoree Jackson kind of mold, where he's tough. Like, he's going to play against the run, going to talk a lot of trash. Kind of seems like he would fit in Vic Fangio's scheme, but obviously things didn't work out. So they went in a different direction. But I also don't know if he's drastically better than Adoree Jackson. I just feel like people remember what he was years ago. And I think he's become obviously dropped off a little bit since then.
A little bit, yeah. That's interesting. So that tells you, how much or little following it specifically, because couldn't name it off the top of the head, but that makes sense. Miami there. DJ Laws was a 10 bomb. Love the show, fellas. Little off topic, but Anthony, where can I cop that hat?
I got this at Lids. I actually got Josh the same hat when I was in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, I believe. Mm-hmm. But I haven't been able to find it online. If I can find it online, I will try and I'll go back and drop a link in this chat for the video once we're done going live, and maybe I'll even tweet it out. I don't know, we'll see. But I'll try and get it out, because I feel like I've had multiple people ask about this hat. I haven't been able to find it online. I bought it in person at a Lids. I know it sounds crazy to walk into a store these days. I don't do it often, but I said, hey, let me go.
Who does that anymore?
It's easy to just sit home and have everything delivered to you, but I physically went into a Lid store. They had this hat. I bought it. I showed it to Josh. He said, "Can you get me one?" I got him one, and that's it. So I will try and find one. He
did do that. Yes, as crazy as it sounds. Nobody does that anymore. By the way, that's crazy. But hey, Life of Chris says I'm from Lancaster, Pennsylvania. So just go get it. Then you go get it in person. Everybody in this chat, just take a road trip to Lancaster, Pennsylvania. You'll be fine.
That's all you got to do.
Go buy the hat. It is pretty legit though. Fanny with a 2. My son is a cornerback. He'll play for $5,000. We could save a lot on the cap space there. Wouldn't even affect the cap. Maybe so. The Eagles might need another cornerback.
Well, according to Josh, I might have Howie Roseman's phone number, so I'll get that over to him. And let him know that your son's
you do. That's not even it's a guarantee at this point. Also, John M with a 5. Love that hat, Anthony. Your cap game is fire.
I appreciate that. As a bald guy, I kind of have to. I can't style my hair, so I have to wear a hat to kind of throw it off. But that's it. I gotta keep it covered. I don't want to blind anybody on the stream and have the light deflect.
We appreciate that then. Yes, thank you for looking out for us. All right, there's another topic here that I was going to get into, trying to make sure that I had the tweet ready for it. As we've touched on a lot of the cornerback position, but the Eagles did make a trade and a move, and I covered it in the latest video, but we haven't gotten into it here. It feels like it doesn't have as much conversation recently as maybe warranted, but Tank Bigsby, the trade there that was officially made official, the Eagles tweeted that out earlier today. Their social media account tweeted it out to make it official, among other PR releases, but agreed to acquire running back kick returner Tank Bigsby from the Jaguars in exchange for 2026 5th-round pick and 2026 6th-round pick. But it sounds like there's maybe a little conditional elements to that.
Yeah, so when the trade first happened, everybody was like, well, me too. I was like, oh, this means Will Shipley's probably out for a while, right? And throughout today, they officially announced it. Will Shipley wasn't placed on IR, which if you think Will Shipley's going to be out for a significant amount of time, more than 4 weeks, obviously the easy move would be, hey, we're adding a running back, let's just place him on IR, right? So that obviously means, or it seems to hint that Will Shipley's not going to be missing 4 weeks. Maybe it'll be a game or two. But I think Tank Bigsby, and I wrote about it, I put an article out on the PhillySpecialShow.com where I think it's more so just Howie Roseman doing what he does, kind of similar to the Jahan Dotson trade late in August last year, where a young player on a rookie contract, a relatively high draft pick that showed promise with their previous team. They have 2 years left. He's 24 years old. When they traded for Jahan Dotson, he was also 24 years old. And I know they have Saquon Barkley, right? He's he's the best running back in the league.
Mm-hmm.
He also makes a lot of money. He makes the most per year. I mean, the cap hit is a different story because the Eagles use void years and things like that. But if you just go by the APY, the average per year, Saquon Barkley's at the top of that list. So the fact that now you're bringing Tank Bigsby, you already have Will Shipley. Now you have your RB2 and your RB3 in theory under contract for at least the next 2 years for next to nothing. Basically the veteran minimum. It's like Tank Bigsby, I think he's making 1.1 million this year and then 1.3 million next year or something right around there.
Mm-hmm.
And he's a different runner than Will Shipley, where Will Shipley's more of an elusive kind of guy. Tank Bigsby's a bigger body, but he can also provide that kick return experience, which is what everybody's kind of bigging up. And the reason behind this trade is because it seems like the Eagles want Will Shipley to play a bigger role than maybe a lot of us expected, bigger than Kenny Gainwell did last year as RB2. And he showed that promise in week one. Unfortunately, then he got hurt on special teams. So my thinking, and I mentioned it in the article, is that they want to avoid him being on special teams and returning kicks and kind of exposing him to those hits. And now you're bringing a guy like Tank Bigsby, who averages close to 30 yards per kick return through his 2 years in Jacksonville and week one this year. He can take those hits. He can be that guy to raise the floor as a kick returner while allowing Will Shipley to focus on his role on offense and be that RB2 behind Saquon Barkley. And then people were like, oh, this means A.J. Dillon's gone. But not necessarily. It seems like they also want to keep him around. They didn't release him as the corresponding move for the deal either. So right now they have 4 running backs in the room. Who knows what happens considering that now Ben Van Sumeren's out. And it seems like Kylan Granson's going to be the fullback moving forward, or at least they'll try that there. I don't think they're going to experiment with Tank Bigsby at fullback. I saw some people kind of throw that out there just because he's a bigger guy. I don't think that's happening.
Yeah.
But I just think it's Howie Roseman doing what he does. He likes adding these players that are former high draft picks, throwing a couple late picks at a team just to take a chance on them and see if he can kind of get the best out of them, given the culture and the locker room in Philadelphia.
Yeah, I was wrestling with that as well, especially whenever we were texting back and forth when the move happened and trying to rationalize it and everything else. Regardless, nothing else. Again, it's the 5th, 6th round pick for a guy with a lot of potential. Big fan of him whenever he came out. The fact that he's going to be in Philadelphia for multiple seasons. You get him for practically nothing, especially knowing what Howie Roseman can do with draft picks and trades and all the other stuff during the draft. So I'm excited for it. The question is that, what happens for, a lot of people ask these, what happens to A.J. Dillon? What's the rotation going to look like? All this other stuff. I think that they'll figure it out. I don't know necessarily that it's boding terrific for a guy like A.J. Dillon, but, you never know. We also will be curious to know exactly the extent of Will Shipley's injury. So there's something there. Derek Gunn had reported earlier today of the fractured rib, which, it's like, okay, if that's the case, again, what timeline are we looking like for how long Will Shipley would be out and everything else? But nonetheless, you can't have too many playmakers. Like, regardless of whether it's him being a running back, I'm totally with you on the kick return ability, the 32.5 yards per return, limited small sample size, but 32.5 yards per return. I think if anything, especially coming away from this past weekend of the NFL, not just in the Eagles game, it's like the teams that have a threat at returner, you could tell there's a drastic difference. Like, obviously, yes, they're returning, but you could just see that there's a whole lot more concern even in the kick return game. And just to have that home run potential, not saying that, it happens necessarily, but just to have that potential out there, it's like, yeah, we will absolutely take that. And it's even better, as you mentioned there, if you don't have to worry about a guy getting injured in that spot and then all of a sudden be like, oh, shoot, we're out of our RB2 option because, he injured himself in the kick return or the special teams game. So it's a good move. It's solid. I know people asking, like, Why did the Eagles do it? They need other positions. They need other guys. This doesn't make any sense. This has no impact, in my opinion, but I feel like this is pretty solid here. This has no impact on whether or not like Howie Roseman makes a trade for a cornerback or anything. This is not like, oh no, we gave away too much draft capital to then do something for the cornerback. Totally unrelated, will not affect it one bit. But it's another weapon, and it's a guy that I'm excited about.
Yeah, and it's like they just made a deal for John Mechie too, where nobody thought they were going to make a deal for a wide receiver, but another guy, young guy on a rookie contract, former high draft pick, underperformed. Like almost all of these players fall in that same category, where they're all on their rookie deals. Howie Roseman thinks the culture in Philadelphia can kind of get the most out of them. So, and I also think Tank Bigsby, like people are kind of overthinking it. Where they're like, oh, what is he going to do? Like, is he just going to be a kick returner and that's it? I feel like he's also a really damn good running back. Like. He was a third-round pick for a reason, and he played really well last season when he was kind of forced into being a co-starter or whatever it was. So if, God forbid, something does happen to Saquon Barkley, Will Shipley and Tank Bigsby is a solid kind of duo to use in that regard. And I wouldn't be surprised at all once Tank Bigsby kind of catches up to speed with the offense, he can jump Will Shipley in the depth chart. I think he's a better running back overall than Will Shipley is. So that's a really good running back room to have. And like I said, you locked in those three for sure for at least the next 2 seasons. So the Eagles are in really good shape outside of just Saquon Barkley. And I see a couple people saying the move A.J. Dillon to fullback. I don't think that's happening. I know he's a big running back, but he's not a fullback. So I don't think that's going to happen. It seems like whenever they do want to use a fullback, it'll be Kylan Granson. I know they mentioned Cameron Latu as well, who was a guy that I had kind of a preseason crush on because he was really good on special teams. But so maybe they try that too. But at this point, if Kylan Granson doesn't work out, they'll probably just scrap that whole full back part of the offense and just go back to the either 12 personnel, 13 personnel, 11 personnel, and just roll from there.
It is sad because as much as we like that, Ben Van Surmer felt terrible for the injury. I mean, first play of the game, first opening kickoff. It's crazy, man. After that season, the limited sample size, and as much as we were talking about it, as much as the Eagles were hyping it up, and like we're ready to go see a fullback with this offense, with the athleticism that BVS has, like, man, I feel so bad for him, especially, any injury, but like just especially of that magnitude in that situation, one snap, like it doesn't get worse than that. So, prayers for Ben. That's got to be crushing just to be injured to begin with, but. For that type of a scenario when you're coming back from a knee injury previously and then you go back to the exact same thing, I can't even imagine. So thoughts to Ben, because we were very excited about the fullback role and what that would look like. Phil Long with a 2, supporting all the way from Vietnam. Go Birds. Let's go. All the way from Vietnam. I don't even know what time it is there, but we appreciate the support and hanging out.
Thank you very much.
Early in the morning would be my guess. Sometimes I don't know, actually.
That's real support right there, though. We appreciate it.
Eagles fans everywhere. You guys are the best. Y'all are absolutely the best. What makes this community awesome?
8:25 a.m. By the way.
Okay, 8:25. Okay, so it's
good morning.
11 hours difference Eastern time. I think so, something like that. Yeah, 12 hours difference. I don't know. One of those, whatever it is. No, 11 hours. Yeah, 11 hours Eastern. Okay. David with a 5. Math is hard. How do we think JC being a liability will impact his contract negotiations? Either way, glad he can play Sunday. Thanks for all you guys do. I think that's a Go Birds with the emoji, but we'll take it that way. Appreciate it, David.
I mean, I guess you're like referring to a liability as far as like attitude and things like that, I would assume. But like, he's still a really good player, right? He's an all-pro, one of the best defensive players in the NFL. Like, assuming he doesn't have any other issues between now and the offseason, they're going to hand him a blank check. He's just going to probably be the highest paid interior defensive lineman in the NFL, maybe in the same range as the top 3 to 5 edge rushers. Like, he's going to get paid a ton of money. I know there are the questions now, and the report came out today where his agent Drew Rosenhaus and the Eagles kind of said, like, listen, we're not going to use this against you. We're not going to void any of your guarantees. And I quote tweeted it and said, like, oh, but they are going to use it during contract negotiations. Some people thought I was serious and thought this meant that the Eagles were going to like shortchange him, but no, they're going to give him whatever the hell he wants.
Emoji.
Basically,
people are not picking up on the sarcasm there, but
the wink emoji is my basically hashtag sarcastic, but like people don't catch it all the time. But yeah, it's just he's going to get paid a ton of money as long as nothing else happens, obviously. And so it's so far throughout his time in Philadelphia, there really wasn't any issue before this. I mean, outside of that little thing where Clint Hurt was holding him back and Sirianni was trying to talk to him, which really was nothing. That happens basically on every sideline at some point throughout the season. So that was kind of blown out of proportion too. But overall, he's done really well in Philadelphia behavioral wise, I guess. And it seems like he was saying all the right things besides this. So hopefully he kind of just avoids any other kind of confrontations and is clean moving forward.
Yes, absolutely. And there's, I think the other, like the target situation thing that was disputable and whatnot his rookie season, but that was even like unofficial, not confirmed, but necessarily. So it's yes, there's like random things that have popped up. So I understand where people are like, oh, how much is this going to impact? But like you say there, I'm in agreement. Like if there's nothing crazy egregious, like another incident like this for this season, or beyond that, obviously would be worse. But anything like that, it shouldn't. I don't think it will. For all the reasons you mentioned, and again, like yes, you want the character, you want the right guys and everything, but like if Milton Williams, no offense to him, but if Milton Williams can get paid what he got paid for what he did and the caliber of player that he is, then Jaylen Carter is going to be perfectly fine. He is going to get paid because there's the negotiation part of it too with Drew Rosenhaus and others is like, fine, you don't want to pay us? Just watch. Like someone else in the league will pay us this. So yeah, I think the Eagles understand what they have, especially all the other things, because it works both ways. You have the right setup for JC. He's got the Philly dogs around him. You got Nolan Smith. You got Jordan Davis. Jordan Davis, similarly with Jaylen Carter, is like, okay, he's having a good season here. I'm going to be curious to see how good Jordan Davis continues to play this year, because if he plays really good, then you're going like, can we afford to do Jaylen Carter and Jordan Davis? Because Jordan Davis is like really good to have, I mean, on the field for JC, but I think even more importantly for the locker room for Jaylen Carter, right? There's like the tandem for all the Philly dogs, but I think mainly for Jordan Davis there. But then that's a whole other conversation you have, because I don't know if you can afford, or if they want to afford that. Do they go some other route? It may not be Gabe Hall, as the Eagles waived my guy. He might make it back on the practice squad. We'll see. But if people did not catch that, that was the move that was made to make space for Tank Bigsby. Somebody had to go. I don't know why it was Gabe Hall, of all people, but it fired you up as well.
Yeah, I mean, maybe because that's your Baylor boy. I kind of started like falling in love with him during the preseason, the way he was playing, and kind of felt like the next great like Eagles well, not great, maybe I'm stretching it, but like the next really good developmental story for the Eagles, where he was like a guy that spent the year in the practice squad, didn't really look like he was ready coming out of college, and then like spent the year in Philadelphia, and now it looks like he really put it together, because he was downright dominant alongside Byron Young during some of those preseason games. And to me, it's just crazy that you now have 7 edge rushers, including 2 guys that were healthy scratches in week 1. And you're keeping them, especially Obo Okoronkwo, who's a 30-year-old, right? I mean, you just added Zadarius Smith, who's older as well. But you keep that guy over your 24-year-old young interior defensive lineman that was making nothing. And you would have the restricted free agency rights to him next, like in the offseason. He's shown promise. To me, it seems like, why would you even expose that guy to waivers? I mean, I would be surprised if he makes it back, but stranger things have happened. We feel like whenever you think a guy is going to get poached on waivers, they don't. And then whenever you don't think they're going to get poached, they do. So we'll see what happens. Obviously, the Eagles already lost both Trevor Keegan and Tristan McCollum to other teams on waivers. So it seems like the Eagles are like being watched by everybody around the league. Everybody knows how deep they are. So like I said, I would be surprised if Gabe Hall doesn't get claimed, but hopefully he doesn't, and he's able to return to Philadelphia's practice squad, because otherwise I'm going to be very upset.
Yeah, we will both be in the same boat. I guess you never know, but some guys you move on from, some you make trades for. Nobody's perfect, as we said, with Howie Roseman. That one I was very hopeful for, of him making it. By the way, people that have not known or were not keeping track of it, following everything else, just quickly, because I did think of this for other Eagles that we moved on from, or in this instance, a trade for Jacorian Bennett. I think that Jacorian, still, as we said, patience, don't give up on him. There could be a possibility there for cornerback too. But Thomas Booker played a very good game for the Raiders. So not that, there's a lot of defensive tackle interior depth. Like Jordan Davis played good. Moro Ojomo, I think, can play better. Byron Young played pretty good. debatable if you give him credit for that forced fumble. It's
It's
cool.
a big controversial topic.
It's more hype to give it to Jahad Campbell, so maybe that's why he got it. But they both played a role in that. So there are guys, but Thomas Booker was one of them dudes, and to see him play well for Las Vegas, it was not necessarily a surprise. So just say that.
Yeah, and I mean Ty Robinson wasn't even active for week 1 either, right? So now maybe he'll just replace Gabe Hall as like the game day active and have kind of a role there where he plays the 5 to 10 snaps a game or something like that. But yeah, I mean, it was cool to see Thomas Booker play well, but I don't think it's kind of hard to be upset given how deep the Eagles are along the interior defensive line. Like they just have a ton of guys there. So some people might say like, oh, that's a bad trade, like looking back at it now, but calm down, relax.
Give it time.
Yeah.
Let's not jump to conclusions like we said for everything else. As call sign here, this is a great time for the Super Chat with a 5. Appreciate that. Folks, let's not forget, last year it took our boys 5 weeks to figure it out. Let's relax, please. Took it at least 5 weeks, depending on where we go with the bye week, because the bye week was 5. So yeah, and then even the Browns game did not look great. I remember coming out of the bye week going, okay, well, if this is fixing it, I'm not sure. That's Cleveland. Wait till we play a better team.
It's so funny to kind of look back at that, right? Because everybody was so upset they had such an early bye week, and then they're like 2-2. This is perfect timing because this team looks terrible, especially after that loss to the Bucs, and it kind of ended up helping them flip the entire season. So it's just so early, like you said before. The 2 weeks into the season last year, everybody thought the Saints were this unbeatable team that's going to score 40 points every week, and they turn out to be one of the worst teams in the league. So just it's this first month of the season, these first 3-4 weeks are kind of like the actual preseason for all of the starters and the coaching staff as they get caught up. So wait till October before you get kind of crazy with these jumping to conclusions.
Yes. There's a little bit of patience is always a good thing. Okay, I am going to do the giveaway now because we've been talking for a good moment, but I think that we can get this giveaway in here as far as the tickets. Again, this is from the game recap video. So I've mentioned this before, but thanks to our sponsors. So for those people, that talk about, doing quite a bit of sponsor shout outs. I will get to the other super chats too, by the way. Appreciate from the other guys. I've not missed you. I see those. I'm going to get to those here in a second. Just want to do this giveaway here real quick. It is possible because of sponsors, and every time the Eagles win this season, another reason to be subscribed, to stay tuned here. Every game recap video will be giving away 2 Eagles tickets to any game of your choice. It's crazy, I know. We gave away 40 tickets last year. The goal was to do more. So assuming that the Eagles win lots of games, and sometimes we double it up just because we're feeling that way, but it's possible that we do that. So we've already given away, we did 2 sets, or actually 3 sets over the offseason, so 6 there. We did 2 on the touchdown call, so that's 8, and then we're doing 2 more because of the win. So we're about to be up to 10 tickets already that we've given away. Hopefully someone's on this stream. That would be fantastic. You don't have to be, though. Shared that before. As long as you commented on that video, then you're good to go. They have a week to claim them. If they don't, we'll give them away to somebody else on the live stream. So all the details there. Let me make sure I'm sharing the screen properly. And here we go. Let me make that a little bit bigger so people can see that. Good luck, everybody. This is for the 2 Eagles tickets because the Eagles won and are 1-0. After all, winning is the only thing that matters. See who it is. Please be on the stream. It'd be great if they were. Jeezy, is it Jeezy the Kid or Geezy the Kid? It's Geezie the Kid. I don't know which way to go with that. It's like me with like GIF and GIF. I never know what to say with that. But
oh, come on, it's GIF.
But see, I've had other people tell me
you don't say GIF, do you?
I don't know, actually. I'm literally like, I probably say it both ways. It's terrible, I know, but I've heard people say it.
The thing that you put in your mouth and you chew on, is that considered jum, or do you call it gum? Do you shoot a jun or a gun? Like, come on, it's GIF.
I know, but would you call
what are we doing
when
here?
Someone says hidden gems? Do you call it a gim or a gym? Right? Like,
oh man, now you got me. No.
I don't know. That's where
my whole argument is gone.
Everyone's at a loss. What do you do?
I've always said GIF. I don't know. I mean, the rapper Young Jeezy is Jeezy, so this is probably Jeezy. Or maybe Jeezy wasn't available. This is tough.
It's tough. Okay.
Whenever he emails you, tell him to give you the phonetic.
Yeah, let me know what this one is here. You have won those, though. Congratulations to you. While we can't figure out exactly what to call you, you have won the 2 Eagles tickets to the game. If you're in the chat, that would be even better because we could just figure that out quickly. Otherwise, we will, give you an opportunity in the upcoming video. So I'll share that. I'll give you a chance. You got an opportunity. As always, remember that is for the giveaways in the game recaps. Of course, we have the member only giveaways. So for the members on the channel, we have those once a month as well, and it's access just for the members, but to 2 Eagles tickets of your choice. So don't worry. That's not like that's out of the running or anything like that. But congrats again to Geezy the Kid. Maybe it's Jeezy. Either one.
Now people are saying George, Gel. My whole argument is wrong.
See, I know that because there's a. But then Luffy says George or Jorge, right? So you could go either or.
This is tough. I'm not going to go to sleep tonight. Now I'm going to be thinking about this.
Oh yes, Justin says thank you, Josh. Mom's like you chose.
Right, but getting back on track here, you want to jump to the other giveaway that you haven't revealed yet?
We certainly could. Members giveaway is the end of the month, by the way, too. So gift sounds too close to gift, and I hate it, is what Justin says. So gift sounds too close to gift. They would go with GIF. I don't know. But we do have something, yes, for the people on the stream, the live stream members that have stuck with us. So don't leave. Let me get it teed up here. If you do want it, you can, I guess, share what it is here. But
so we got, if anybody's been on the live streams before, I have a ton of cards, sports cards. I'm a big sports card collector. We got some good news regarding this guy, it seems like, since he wasn't placed on IR. So I figured why not kind of celebrate his week 1 performance. Unfortunately, he had the injury, but it seems like he should be good to go moving forward or in a couple weeks. And I'll be giving away a signed Will Shipley rookie card.
Look at that.
So anybody that's in the live stream now. So it's not if you left a comment in another video, you're in this stream, you have to stay in this stream. And I believe we're going with, you guys got to type Will, right? WILL? Is that what we're going with?
Sure, let's do that. Yes, let me put that in the comment for an option here real quick as I'm getting people ready. Hold on, don't comment it yet. It's not going to count.
Sorry.
I wasn't ready. It was my fault too. So hold on.
I jumped the jump on that one.
Someone said it's not called a giveaway. That's true. It's not.
Oh, people are typing it already. Oh no, I'm sorry, everybody. Wait.
That's all right. They'll have a second opportunity. Okay, it is capturing now. It is capturing at this moment. So starting now, if you were to say Will, you don't need to say it multiple times. But whenever I just said starting now, it's capturing it. So you'll say it now one time. Say Will. Tucky's saying, "What are we commenting?" You're commenting Will, WILL. That'll get you in for the giveaway. Access to the Will Shipley signed card there that Anthony had shared. That's legit. Got to win that.
Pretty cool.
Now, while we're waiting, and as we're getting the hundreds, if not thousands, well, it can't be thousands. We've only got 877 people here, but I should have probably changed the word. That was a good point. I think Clayton said that. I probably should have just been like, hey, it's not actually Will. Do something else. It's too late. I forgot about that. Ross, I see your super chat here. I'm going to get to that in a second. I've got a reason for doing that here in a second, too. Brian, appreciate the comments. Multiple super chats as well, saying you guys are awesome. Listening from Tokyo. Once again, I don't know what time it is over there, but we appreciate you hanging out and listening. It's a blast as always. I assume that's even, I don't know, would that be later? Like I would guess it's 11:40. Okay, I was going to say 11 a.m. I almost nailed it. 20 minutes.
You?
It was a total guess. The Vietnam helped me, right? Because then it's like, okay, move it over a little bit to the east. I don't know. That was.
I'm terrible with geography. I would have. Nope. I probably would have went 6 hours or something crazy. That's why I didn't say anything.
Oh, I love it. All right, we got lots of. Yes, it is tomorrow in Tokyo. That's why you always ask. Brian, let us know what happens in the future.
Yeah, can you actually let us know if Howie Roseman makes another trade?
That's true. We should just get his number because he's in the future and then upload it ahead of time. And Brian lets us know already. What's going on Wednesday? How is Wednesday? How does Wednesday look? All right. Mark Anthony, will you guys pick the winner soon? Yes, we will. Stay present, though. If you're here, if you've commented, if you want a chance to win, you do need to be present now for this part of it. So I'm not going to, spin and just let someone to take forever to claim it like on a future or another day. It has to be present on the stream. So stay here. Brian says, haha, I rely on you guys for this info. We appreciate that. Okay, I think I've got a good bit of comments here that have come in now. So we have actually I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna wait like 15 more seconds because it says there's a couple more messages that it's compiling, and then we should be good to spin. So lots of you are here. Some people have coffee machines that are broken. That's some extra good luck.
Before you drew for the tickets, I saw somebody say, my wife's coffee machine is very, very broken.
It's very, very broken.
It's like, oh, man.
People know how this works. John says, too funny. Josh with a G. He says, gosh, but it's B. Gosh. I know it's pronounced by like Josh because he's talking. See, that's how you never know. All right, let's do this thing. Let's do this giveaway. Ross, again, I'm going to get to your super chat. I've not forgotten about you, but there's a reason to wait. All right, so good luck, all. Who's it going to be? On the stream. Stay present. Don't leave. It is Michaelo? Michaelo? M-I-K-E-L-O?
M-I-C-K-E-Y-M-O-U-S-E.
I don't know some of these usernames. I know that I butchered probably half of it, but you have won. Please be on the stream still. You couldn't have left. Please don't leave. If you left, he's already out of luck, I guess. But there he is. Okay. You won. Congratulations. See the comment. You're here. You're present. DM me on one of the socials. DM Anthony on one of the socials. It's probably easier if it goes to Anthony, but if it's to me, that's perfectly fine as well. Or the Philly Special Show at gmail.com. You can email me there. That works as well. Just however you can get in contact. I've seen the comment there. Just double check, confirm that it's you, get your info, and then we will be able to ship out, or Anthony will be able to ship out the card to you. So,
yes,
congratulations, you got it.
At DiBona NFL on Twitter, if you don't know my social.
Yep. Greg said it's Michelob. I didn't see the B on it, but okay, whatever it is. Congratulations. He says copy that. All right, so we're good. He's got that one in. All right. Let's see. We got Ross with a super chat that I did want to get to. I was waiting for a second. With a 2, says, how do you feel about AJ over 59.5 yards force-fed? Is it going to be over 59.5 yards?
Well. We're glad you asked.
Interesting that he would bring that up. It's a plant, perhaps. Okay. So the reason that we did bring that up is we at least wanted to, as far as the giveaways there, other picks, plays, everything else. Obviously, channel sponsor Underdog. Use code Philly Special. Scan the QR code. But for the people that are curious, we used to do this last season. A lot of people started asking for it. I had several requests on this past week. They were like, "Hey, what are the picks? What are the plays that you're going to do?" So figured, hop on here and at least look at some of the lines as far as Underdog goes. I get that it's not for everybody, so appreciate everybody hanging out. If you're dropping and whatnot, more than understandable. Go Birds and everything else. More videos and details to come. But for those that aren't, just to go through pick 'em slip, everything else, the Kansas City game. We'll have a full preview and everything else later in the week, so don't worry. It's not like we're previewing the game of sorts, but it's just going through best picks and plays, what we could possibly share here. So as far as where that is, you got a lot of different options to go with. As Ross was asking for the receiving total, 59.5. Underdog has it 65.5 receiving yards for A.J. Brown. I don't know. What do we think?
I feel like Nick Sirianni mentioned it himself. I forget if it was Devontae or AJ, where they had one game where they were barely targeted or maybe had just like one catch, and then the next week they had 150 yards and 8 catches, something like that. So I don't know if it's going to be that extreme, but I do think the Eagles kind of sat down after week 1 because I know there's skepticism about A.J. Brown. Like, is he healthy? Is he not? He seemed like he was moving well enough to at least be involved. And I just don't see the Eagles letting him play a full share of snaps if he wasn't healthy. So the fact, I think going into this week, they're going to be like, listen, we have to get him the ball. Like, he is the number one target in our passing game. We have to give him the ball. So I don't know if I would necessarily go like a yardage kind of standpoint. I was actually looking at his amount of targets on Underdog.
Mm-hmm.
They have him at over under 5.5 targets. So I would probably take the over there, because I feel like this can be an 8+ target game for AJ Brown as they look to get him involved. He might even have just 2 or 3 targets on their first drive alone, right? Because it feels like the Chiefs are probably going to use that same strategy, even though it got cooked in the Super Bowl. I think they're going to kind of bring a lot of pressure, try and load the box against Saquon Barkley and Jalen Hurts, try to stop the run and force him to throw. And if that's the case, all A.J. Brown was running last week was kind of these quick in-breaking routes. Wasn't really targeted much, but he should be able to get a lot of targets against the Chiefs.
I love that. We were kind of thinking on the same page there too. The 5.5 looked way too enticing, especially because the line is 4.5 receptions. Yeah. So, and that's a little bit of a plus multiplier. I know the other one is 0.78, but it's like I will be shocked. I'm right there with you, but it's like if we come away from it and go, hey, A.J. Brown was targeted 1 time in the opener, and he was targeted 3 times or even 4 times, and that's it. Like, it would be shocking. Like I'll be floored if it's not like A.J. Brown got 8 targets, 9 targets, 10 targets in the game, maybe even more than that, but like at least in that number. So, yeah, I like that one. 5.5 targets for A.J. Brown. The other one that I feel like just is almost an automatic, and we talked about this before we hopped on the stream here, very high on Jahan Dotson. Will be this season until Vegas gets it right, until everybody else starts coming up to the understanding that Jahan Dotson is better than he was last year. Jahan Dotson played really well in the Super Bowl, right? He had the catch, should have been a touchdown, everything else there. I'm not saying that we take the touchdown because it's a 3.8 times multiplier, and that's probably a little bit crazy. But the dude had a 51-yard catch, if I'm not mistaken, against Dallas. The line here now is 10.5 receiving yards. I will be honest, it was 7.5 earlier today. Can neither confirm nor deny how many other picks I took when it was at that line. But still, 10.5 receiving yards to me, I like that. You notice that they're not giving you a receptions total here, because I would think that if with it being 10.5 receiving yards, the over-under would be 1.5. But they're not going to do that, because I would easily smash the over. I'd say, oh, yes, he's going to get 2 receptions. But 10.5 receiving yards, I think you still take the over on that. He could very easily get it on 1 catch. And if it's 2, that's almost a given. 2 receptions, 10.5 yards. I would personally take the 10.5. What do you think?
Yeah, I feel like we talked about this before we got on, as like we both agreed that was the one play that kind of stood out immediately when looking at these numbers.
Yep.
Like you said, it feels like until kind of the sports books or Underdog, whoever else catches up to Jahan Dotson's involvement in the offense and kind of his increased role and comfortability with Jalen Hurts, it seems like that's going to be something that you could probably target from now until week 6 or 7, because if he keeps having these games with 30, 40 plus yards, eventually they'll catch up and set the line at like 20 something or 30 something. But if it's in single digits or in the teens, it feels like you have to just take it and roll with it.
Like that pick. So we got 2 of them. All right. I guess I didn't ask this too. Like, how many should we? Because we're putting this together. I'll share it out, by the way, too. I'll have a link. People watching this thing back, there'll be a link down in the description if you want to tell that play or share it along with us and play it. I'll also post it out to the community page, and we will tweet it as well. But there's those 2. You do have to pick the opposing team. You have to pick at least 1 player. That is the distinction when you're playing pick'em. You can't all load up on one side, unfortunately. And we also didn't talk about how many picks we're going to go with here. Do we make it a 3 pick, or do we go more than that? Of like, I guess we should decide maybe first on which Chief, and then we could pick another potential Eagle if we're going to go with that.
Yeah, I mean, I had another Eagle in mind, but I know you have to take a Chiefs player. So just looking now, one of the Chiefs players that I think could make sense, especially Xavier Worthy, if he is out. It seems like he's going to be out or leaning towards being out.
Mm-hmm.
I see Juju Smith-Schuster is at 2.5 receptions, over under 2.5 receptions. I think you maybe taking the over on that could be a decent play, or even probably the targets. Yeah, whoever gets Adoree Jackson is going to get a lot of targets.
It's probably him.
I mean, on my end, all I'm seeing for targets for Chiefs players is Travis Kelce at 8.5. If one of the wide receivers was available, maybe they will be later in the week. That would probably be the play. But I think Juju Smith-Schuster or even Hollywood Brown taking the over on their receptions, just because there really won't be anybody else at wide receiver, that could be kind of a way to go.
Yeah. I I like that. I think I'll go with, if you're good with it, I think I'll stick with the 2.5 on Juju because
Okay.
I could see Q matching up with Hollywood most of the time. And if that's the case, maybe he doesn't get the 5 or the 6 receptions that he would need to pass that. But if it's Juju on a Dory, I could very easily see it's like, all right, we're going to pick on that matchup and just keep going there. So even if it's, short yardage dump offs on that, I think I like the
There
3
is
receptions.
one other Chief play that I was going to go with this as my other Eagle play because it's the same category.
Oh, okay.
But I was going to say longest completion for Jalen Hurts over 36.5 because I feel like they're going to have that one deep shot. I know they kept everything short last week, but we saw in the Super Bowl with the dagger, and obviously now they're going to want to get, I think, AJ Brown and Devontae Smith involved more. I could see them kind of have. You saw what Justin Herbert did to the Chiefs defense last week. I think they are susceptible to kind of these deeper shots down the field, or even if it's a quick screen and then they get 36.5 plus yards, then that would cover it as well. But Patrick Mahomes is set at 35.5, and we saw plenty of missed opportunities for the Cowboys last week with the drops and things like that. So all he has to do is kind of hit one of those deep shots, or guys get sloppy and miss tackles. That could be a play for the Chiefs as well if you're not comfortable with the wide receivers.
That's interesting. Yeah. If he had Xavier Worthy, I would be like, yeah, that's something that I could consider. With the guys that he has right now, and
I mean, you could leave it those 3. That's
assuming
safe,
that it's going to be so it's a 4x multiplier. So for people that are wondering, it's a 4x. If we went with, like, let's say, just for example, let's say we did Jalen Hurts with the longest completion, and we added that, it turns into a 6.5 multiplier. Now. So 4.12 to a 6.5. I mean, Jalen already went over that in the opener, right? He could get some deep shots. Take one to AJ Brown, get like a 40-yard completion.
The dagger 2.0. We'll run it again.
Or just do it to Smitty. And Smitty has it. Yeah, there's an opportunity.
Doesn't matter who has it. Somebody has to have it.
It's true. Yeah. I mean, even in the game before that, or I guess every single game they've played the Chiefs, I want to say that he's gone over that line, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, I know it was in the Super Bowl, the first Super Bowl. It was in the second Super Bowl. It was in, I think it was in Kansas City in the regular season as well. I think Devontae Smith got one on the right sideline. It was like a deep shot, and he caught it, and he landed at the 1 yard line.
It seems like there's always one a game.
There's always one.
That might be...
Because it's kind of a staple of the Spagnuolo defense. Like, he's going to give him opportunities to take shots and just see if he can capitalize. So, yeah, I could see that. There was one to the Chargers took advantage this past week.
Yeah.
All right.
And if Quentin Johnson was cooking them, I feel like one of the Eagles receivers would be able to shake free for a
no offense to Quentin Johnson.
I mean, you could always go with your boy Nolan Smith for a sack or something like that, but I feel like defensive ones are always kind of a little harder to gauge.
I was feeling it so much better last week. That's the crazy thing. Everything hit except for the sacks. I literally did about as many combinations as you could of Brandon Aubrey over 1.5 field goals and Jahan Dotson over on receiving yards. And then I took like every Eagles player to get a sack. It would have been positive money if just one sack had occurred. And if like 3 or 4 sacks had occurred, different guys, it would have been crazy, ridiculous payout. But obviously they didn't get a single sack, so it didn't happen. Okay, I like that, though. I think Jalen Hurts. We stick with Jalen Hurts, the longest completion. So to recap, again, I'll share this with people. Scan the QR code, use code Philly Special. $5 entry gets you $50 in bonus funds. You can follow along with us during the stream. Have those picks posted as well. But A.J. Brown over 5.5 targets against the Chiefs. Jahan Dotson, higher, I guess I should say, but higher, 10.5 receiving yards. Juju Smith-Schuster, higher, 2.5 receptions. And Jalen Hurts, higher on the 36.5 yards for the longest completion. I like those.
I mean, I had one more that I just
Did
came
you
across
want
too,
one more?
but I'm not.
Okay.
I'm not getting crazy. I mean, they have A.J. Brown higher than half a reception in the first quarter. I feel like he's gonna get a catch in the first quarter.
Really?
Right?
That's I didn't even see that. That is first half is 2.5, and then the first quarter it's the same multiplier as the targets. Oh wow, that might be
too much into A.J. Brown. Just throwing it out there.
That is actually very interesting there. Yeah, because you feel like surely they're going to go that direction.
I mean, but then surely they couldn't, and then their whole A.J. Brown strategy is really
I know. This gives us the longer duration of the game. Otherwise, we go through the first quarter and like, dang it, the bet's not there. He could have 3 targets in the first quarter, just no catches. Okay. Yeah, I think we're going to stick with this one, but we might, if it fits your fancy, we might do another variation of it. So feel free. You're welcome to do that. But yes, this will be the one. I will share it out for people on the stream. I'll share the pick and everything else for people that want to tell along with the link. So it'll be down in the description for this video. Got a last super chat here as well. Didn't forget about you, but a Warriors Rage with 5 says, well, see, I don't know how to say this, but GIF stands for, graphics interchange format. This means the G is supposed to be enunciated in the nature of the word it stands for. It's not graphics or graphics. It's graphics. So it would be GIF. It would be GIF, not GIF. Okay. I guess that's fair.
I'll take it. That's it. I win. I'm kidding.
People are still going to debate that out in the comments as well. So feel free. But appreciate it. Congrats again to the giveaway winners. All you guys are the best. Lots more to come. Crazy details info. I'll probably have another one on the stream tomorrow night, so stay tuned for that one. But just passed 138,000 subscribers, so cool stuff there. Couldn't do it without you guys, obviously, but very much appreciated. And more stuff to come. Stay tuned. As always, appreciate it. We'll see you guys. Go Birds.